You know, every single time you fly, you're placing your trust in this vast, invisible network that keeps our skies incredibly safe. It's just this marvel of modern tech. But here's the crazy part. It didn't start in some futuristic lab. Nope, it started with one guy, a couple of flags, and a wheelbarrow. And the story of how we got from that to this, it's just amazing. So how did we actually do it? How did we go from a completely empty sky, where flying was basically a stunt, to the super regulated, essential industry we rely on today? Well, to really get a handle on our modern sky, we've got to go way back to a time when it was pretty much the Wild West. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's absolutely staggering. The very first system was literally one man with some flags, his wheelbarrow, and a single, simple rule. That guy, he is the direct ancestor of today's global satellite networks, of advanced AI, of automated collision avoidance. And the journey from that to this, well, that is the story of air traffic control. All right, so let's rewind the clock. We're going to the early 1900s, right after the Wright brothers have pulled off their miracle at Kitty Hawk. They had just unleashed this incredible invention on the world. But, the world wasn't quite ready for it. In those first years, aviation was a complete free-for-all. No rules, no licenses, nothing. If you could build a plane in your barn, you could try and fly it. And as you can imagine, that led to a lot of crashes. So the public didn't see flying as transportation, they saw as a terrifying hobby for daredevils. And investors, they were not about to sink money into something that risky. So what was the tipping point? What could possibly turn this dangerous pastime into a legitimate industry? The answer, and you might find this surprising, was the U.S. mail. See, the U.S. Post Office saw the potential here. They started using planes to deliver mail. And in the process, they started solving some of aviation's biggest problems. For instance, flying at night. Their solution in 1921? A chain of massive lit bonfires on the ground to guide the pilots. I mean, it sounds crazy, right? So primitive. But it worked, and it proved that flying had a future beyond just sunny days. And this right here, this was the real spark. The Airmail Act of 1925. By letting private companies bid on mail routes, the government created something that never existed before, a way to actually make money from flying. This one piece of legislation, it pretty much single-handedly kickstarted the entire commercial airline industry in America. Okay, so now the floodgates are open. You've got the big names jumping in. We're talking Boeing, Douglas. Even Henry Ford starts building planes. The skies start filling up, and all of this fast, chaotic growth, well, it definitely got the attention of the federal government. But here's the interesting part. The government's first instinct wasn't to crush this new industry with a ton of rules. No, in fact, it was the exact opposite. As Senator Bingham, the guy behind the new law, put it, the goal was less about regulation and more about promotion. They knew they needed to build public trust and create a safe, unified system where aviation could actually grow. So the Air Commerce Act of 1926 rolled out a pretty clear three-step plan. First, the government would build the infrastructure, basically the highways in the sky. Second, they'd make sure the drivers were qualified, so they started licensing pilots and mechanics. And third, they'd create the first official rules of the road for using those brand new airways. This was all great, right? We've got highways connecting cities in the sky. But in solving one problem, they created a brand new one they hadn't really thought about. All those planes on all those highways, well, they all had to end up in the same place. And that created a massive traffic jam right at the airport. Now, before all this, the one and only rule of flying was super simple. It was called see and be seen. That was it. If you saw another plane, your job was to not run into it. And that worked just fine when there were only a handful of planes flying around in perfect weather. But, well, that was all about to change. You see, technology was actually becoming a problem for that simple rule. Better instruments meant pilots could now fly right through clouds. Radio navigation meant they could find their way at night or in thick fog. All of these were fantastic advancements, but they made see and be seen totally impossible. Pilots were now flying blind relative to each other, and that problem in the air was made so much worse on the ground. Early airports weren't like they are today with nice, neat runways. No, they were just massive, open fields of grass or dirt. Pilots would land and take off in any direction they wanted, usually into the wind. So on a day with no wind, it was just absolute chaos, with planes coming and going from every possible direction. So let's put it all together. You've got pilots who can't see each other in the air, all trying to land on the same chaotic field that has no rules. You can see where this is going. It was a disaster just waiting to happen. Someone had to step in and bring some order to the madness, and the solution didn't come from some big government committee or a fancy team of engineers. It came from one man, hired by one airport to solve one very, very dangerous problem. So picture it. St. Louis, Missouri, 1929. The airport managers are at their wits' end with this problem, and they finally realize they need someone on the ground to direct the traffic. So they go out and hire the very first air traffic controller in the country. And his name was Archie League. And get this, he wasn't some bureaucrat. He was a pilot himself, a former barnstormer and a mechanic. He understood planes, he understood the pilots flying them, and he knew firsthand just how dangerous things had become. So what did the world's first air traffic control tower look like? Well, every morning, Archie League would load up his office into a wheelbarrow and trundle it out to the edge of the field. His high-tech equipment? A folding beach chair, a beach umbrella for shade, a notepad, his lunch, and the two crucial tools, a red flag and a green flag. His system was brilliant in its simplicity. If Archie waved the red flag, it meant hold, stop, don't take off, don't land. If he waved the green flag, the coast was clear. You were good to go. This was it. This was the actual birth of active air traffic control. Archie League and his two flags brought the first taste of order to the chaos on the field. It was an absolutely genius, practical solution for its time. But as planes got faster, flew higher, and started filling the skies in huge numbers, you have to ask, how could a system this simple possibly keep up?